Good day, everyone. Welcome to Blacklogic.
Ready? You have the cameras rolling?
Every nation has a creation myth. America's favorite one says it was built by brave pilgrims, smart entrepreneurs, and hardworking immigrants. But when you strip away the slogans and look at the ledgers, and you find another truth buried under the marble, it wasn't white colonizers, Irish or Italian newcomers, or modern Black immigrants who built this empire, or even the Asians. It was the foundational Black Americans. It was the descendants of those brought here in chains and those already here before Columbus ever lost his way. Because the foundation of American isn't an idea, it's an invoice. It's a long past due. See, before the beginning, let's start where most textbooks won't even go to, 1526, not 1619. The Spanish explorer Lucas Vasquez lands near what is now South Carolina with enslaved Africans. They rebel, burn the colony, and disappear into local native populations. That's the first recorded rebellion, the first American freedom fight. But the story doesn't begin there either, because evidence shows that Black aboriginal population already existed on this soil long before European arrival. From Olmec carvings in Mesoamerica to DNA markings found in pre-Columbian skeletons, it remains along the Gulf Coast, contested by some. Yes, but undeniable in its symbolism. We were here before they even arrived.
We have a problem.
If you can reference that book by Ivan van Sertima, They Came Before Columbus, or even in W.E.B. Du Bois' book, The Negro. This point is very simple. This land already had Black presence before colonizers. Claim to discovery, America didn't birth itself. And America sure didn't birth us. We birthed America's first labor force, its first rebellion, and its first identity crisis. By the 1800s, America wasn't a country, it was a corporation, and the stock was Black flesh. Cotton accounted for 57% of all U.S. exports by 1860. An empire financed by free labor and built on stolen lives. Wall Street banks like Lehman Brothers, JP Morgan and Chase, and New York Life literally underwrote slavery selling insurance policies on the lives of enslaved people, our ancestors. That's not heritage, that's economic architecture. The plantation became the banks. The banks became the railroads. The railroads became industrial America, and all of it financed by the blood equity of foundational Black Americans. Meanwhile, the U.S. Constitution itself was written to protect those who profit from it. 3/5 compromise. That wasn't politics. That was a spreadsheet counting human beings as fractional capital.
Here we go again.
Now, here come the colonizers. The mythology says they built America, but colonizers didn't build, they delegated. They stole indigenous land, imported enslaved labor, and called it civilization. By 1862, the Homestead Act handed out 270 million acres of land, nearly all of it to white families. That's over 1.1 trillion in modern value.
It's huge.
A welfare program for whiteness itself. So when the Civil War ended, the U.S. paid slave owners reparations for their loss of property, no less, up to $300 per enslaved person under the D.C. Compensated Emancipation Act of 1862. The enslaved got absolutely nothing. We were released with no tangibles.
Hypocrisy, my friend.
So when someone says, my ancestors built this country, ask them which side of the whip they were on. Were you the one whipping, or were you the one getting whipped? See, by the late 1800s, early 1900s, new Europeans arrived, Italians, Irish, Germans, as well as the Chinese. And the propaganda machine rewrote history all over again. America was built by immigrants. No, America was inherited by immigrants. They came after the foundation was already poured, after the railroads were already laid, the cotton mills built, and the fields soaked in sweat. The 1924 Immigration Act made sure that those immigrants were almost entirely white Europeans, locking out Africans, most Asians, and the Caribbeans. That law literally designed the demographics of American whiteness. Then came to the 1930s and the 1940s, the New Deal programs, FHA loans, GI bills, all federal subsidies, and all racialized. 98% of GI home loans went to white veterans. FHA maps redline Black neighborhoods from access to credit. These programs turned poor white families into middle class, while Black veterans who fought for freedom came home to denial letters. And decades later, when foundational Black Americans demand reparation, those same descendants of subsidized whiteness cry, why can't you pull yourself up by your bootstraps? Because they were already handed the boots and we were handed the bill. Now let's deal with the new narrative. Black immigrants, Asian immigrants built America too. Respect to all our brothers, sisters, and cousins from Africa and the Caribbean that are not tethers, by the way, but the foundation was already laid long before the 1965 Hart-Celler Act opened immigration, for which our ancestors fought for. By then, foundational Black Americans had already built the infrastructure, the music, the movements, the inventions, and the markets of this country. We fought every war. We built every industry. We redefined democracy as itself. From Crispus Attucks to the Boston Massacre to Fannie Lou Hamer in Mississippi, our blood runs through every American victory. And when those new immigrants, when they come to the shores and when they arrive, the doors they walk through were kicked open by FBA sacrifice, not by Ellis Island privilege. America sells the same lie on repeat over and over and over again, that everyone contributed equally, but the data says otherwise. The Federal Reserve released a report in 23 that the median white family wealth was $285,000 compared to Black family wealth, if you want to call it that, $45,000. You know why? 98% of homestead land were given to whites. 98% of GI loans was given to whites. 87% of federal infrastructure contracts during the New Deal, white-owned firms received those contracts. You don't get the gap from hard work. You get it from policy, inheritance, and protectionism. And that is why this ploy, this fight, this struggle is to the American government to give the debt that are owed to foundational Black Americans.
See what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about, man.
White Americans received the world's largest social welfare program and called it capitalism. Foundational Black Americans were denied basic equity and called lazy for asking. That's not history. That's heist economics.
It was all bullshit.
They cashed in on it. And if you think that the theft stopped at labor, if you really think that the theft stopped at labor, look at culture. From the banjo stolen from West African instruments to rock, blues, jazz, hip hop, R&B, every genre built from FBA creativity became global profit for white-owned corporations.
Money, this money, that profit will make me wallet fat.
Hollywood codified our struggle. Corporation monetized our pain. Even diversity became an industry that pays everyone but the descendants of those who made diversity necessary. Yet through it all, we remain the architects of the American sound, the American soul, the American conscience. So let's settle it once and for all. America wasn't built by white colonizers. They directed it. America wasn't built by European and Asian immigrants. They inherited. America wasn't built by Black immigrants. They arrived after it. It was built by foundational Black Americans, those whose lineage stretches back to 1526 and beyond, those who fought, labored, died, and innovated under systems designed to erase them. Those who struggle made it all possible. This is what they try to do in a lot of these textbooks. They try to erase our culture. That is why they're calling renaming slaves to labor. This is what they're doing. We're not asking for inclusion in someone else's story. We're not asking for anything.
I want nothing.
We are reclaiming authorship of our own. So when you hear someone say, get over slavery, remember, they never got over benefiting from it, did they?
Well, that's not true.
They're still benefiting from slavery still to this day.
America's going to be great again.
When they say we all built this, ask them for their receipts. How, when, who, where? The 5 W's. When they say that was the past, remind them that wealth, land, and policy still live in the present. And when they call our lineage divisive because of our delineation movement, from all these other tethers, whether they be black, white, or Asian, or even Hispanic. Tell them precision isn't division, it's the truth. Because you can't repair what you refuse to acknowledge. And you can't build the future on a stolen foundation. We are the engineers of endurance, the architects of art, the inventors of rhythm, modernization, and resistance. We didn't just build America's economy, we built its identity. From the plantations to the pulpit, from the blues club to the Supreme Court, we've always been the proof that this country's greatness was forged by those it tried to erase. So who really built America? We did. Foundational Black Americans did. And the world runs on what we made. This has been where we strip the myths from money and remind America. And we have to continue to remind America, without us, this is just a land with a flag. That's all this is. And we're not asking for permission to exist. We don't need your permission.
You are a rude, terrible person.
We know what we have done. We are presenting the proof that we built everything they're still standing on. Truth doesn't need permission. It just needs volume. And I'm the voice box.